Sometimes, I guess, you just have to take a step away from the comfort zone. Today's that day, as I have an extramarital affair from Sir Clive's Wonder Machine with a better looking American model, Commodore's Amiga. I'm sorry, love, but I have needs. Needs for a ropey bland platformer based on a BBC innuendo-packed early evening comfort sitcom set in wartime France. Something you can't provide because they didn't put it on you. Allo Allo was broadcast on BBC One between 1982 to 1992. 85 episodes were made during that initial run, and they were initially penned by David Croft and Jeremy Lloyd, a sitcom pair who between them put out such well thought of gems such as Dad's Army, Are You Being Served, and It Ain't Half Hot Mum. Allo Allo tells the story of hapless French cafe owner René Artois in the Axis-occupied town of Nouvon, France. René is the central figure in a tug-of-war from all sides. German officers Kurt von Strum and Hans Geering are keen to profiteer from stolen artefacts such as the fallen Madonna with the big boobies. And so they coerce René into hiding the painting in his cellar. The painting is also desired by Hitler, so Gestapo agent Herr Flick is a constant suspicious thorn in Artois' side. In addition to this, René is also a reluctant accomplice of the French resistance, who utilised the cafe as a safe house for two simple British airmen. Quite the pickle for dear old René, who doesn't make life easy for himself due to his absolutely uncontained libido and unrivalled sex appeal. Not only does René have his wife Edith, but he's also swinging his baguette about around waitresses such as Yvette, Maria, Mimi and communist Gaul resistance leader Denise, as well as catching the eye of Lieutenant Gruber, who seems to prefer saucisse to poisson, if you catch my drift. Him and his little tank there. So, all this combines to make an ensemble comedy of high farce, bad accents, running gags and a slew of repetitive but memorable catchphrases such as these ones.
You stupid woman!
What a mistake to make her.
Listen very carefully. I shall say this only once.
Good morning.
It is I, Leclerc.
Originally a spoof of BBC One drama Secret Army about a Belgian restaurant owner in a very similar situation to René, Allo Allo superseded the popularity of its inspiration by far, becoming a hit in the US, New Zealand, Bulgaria, Australia, and surprising considering the broad stereotypes involved with Allo Allo, also a hit in both France and Germany. Yorkshire publishing house Alternative Software loved a TV licence. Count Duckula, Trapdoor, Huxley Pig and Fireman Sam are all licences I've previously covered on the Spectrum, and are just a few of many, and it was they who acquired the Allo Allo licence and also developed it in-house, the clever old dicks. Alternative's usual go-to genre was the platformer, and more specifically the collect-em-up platformer. And so Alternative decided not to get all avant-garde and just stick to the basics for the misadventures of the oversexed Frenchman and his wartime worries. René is tasked with missions, the first of which is to locate the forged copies of the fallen Madonna with the massive jugs, which have been hidden in large sausages because innuendo must be served before logic in the world of Allo Allo. René need not be alone here, as Michelle, the leader of the French resistance and the one of only a few female characters not to get wetter than a dolphin's back at the sight of Gordon Kay, is available to assist in co-op. I didn't try it, but apparently it's pretty poorly implemented without a split screen. Not worth giving a go. Later missions include locating forged money and bribing a train driver to stop his machine to aid the French resistance disruptive efforts. Another one is helping inept gendarme Officer Crabtree, you know the guy, the one who spoke French words incorrectly but in English because this whole show is weird, collect explosive squirrels to make a bomb. Yes, you have to help an Englishman pretending to be a gendarme Collect explosive squirrels to make a bomb. Okay. Another mission is where you have to free the captured English airmen from a spooky chateau full of ghosts, and finally recover the real fallen Madonna with a gigantic sweater meat as the game's conclusion. Should Rene finish all his quests, then he will escape on a balloon shaped like a wood pigeon, of course, and return to his cafe for a big party. Then he will escape from war-torn France with the British airmen to London while eloping with one of his young fancy pieces. Is this the only video game where the prize for winning is the breakup of a marriage? Poor old Edith. Characters from the show are used liberally, with the majority of enemies being random Nazis, but Helga von Smallhausen, Hairflick and Lieutenant Gruber are stomping about too. This being a computer game from the 16-bit era, of course wildlife are Nazi sympathisers, including birds that damage Rene with their shite. Bird poo and bullets cause the same amount of damage, so remind me not to go outside when I visit Paris. Rene and Michelle do get support from the supporting Allo Allo cast. Crabtree will give you a ton of collectibles should you throw stuff at him. Mimi attracts stormtroopers with her polishing, and Michelle gets her garter out to get the German soldiers hornier than a rhino speed date night. Lob a brick at your wife and she will sing to distract the German soldiers. Is Rene really a good guy? Poor Edith. Again. The cast are all represented with a sort of chibi cartoon style proportion and are recognisable if not amazing to look at. Graphics as a whole are perfectly acceptable. A little bland maybe, but they're serviceable. You do of course get the gradient colour sky background at one point because it's an Amiga platformer and Jack Tremmel demanded that they all have it by law. Yeah, that's not true. It's just something European developers did. What is it with the gradient sky thing, guys? Come on, tell me. Show-offs. The music is jaunty and Gallic. Well, it's very accordion heavy. Anyway, that's French, isn't it? That's all they listen to, I guess. The gameplay, well, it is what it is. It's a better looking and more visually diverse update of those budget Spectrum games we've already looked at from alternative software. There are the usual complaints you get with platformers on the computer systems. Pressing up to jump is archaic, a control method, especially in a game that has ladders and an engine that's not smart enough to contextually realise which of those two things you need to do at a particular point. The game coming out after titles on the consoles such as Mario World or Sonic 2 does no favours for it at all in terms of its general feel or execution. But computer platformers are computer platformers. This is what they are. So it is an inoffensive yet very European platformer. And if you like those, then you should find plenty to enjoy here. The play areas are surprisingly vast. Rene's cafe is basically the same size as Longleat Manor. Who knew there were so many francs to be made in selling croissants? Although there are some weird and poorly thought out level design elements. This squirrel is not a secret bonus, it is vital for progression in the game. So why hide it in this incredibly missable secret room with these sort of platforms that don't look like they're actually platforms? It's weird. There are some nice touches though. Rene gets blown up halfway through the game and is in this sort of tatty state for the rest of the game, which I kind of like. I think that's quite good. It's a game that overall feels like a budget release though, but launched at a full price, a thing that cost it at the review stage with the magazines of the time. Amiga Action gave it a 65%, Amiga Format gave it a 53%, and the One gave it a 45%. All average and below average scores. It sounds like that they're having a good morning. Do you see what I did there? I did one of the catchphrases from the show. Good morning. Anyway, that's enough for now. So, Kay, thanks, and bye. I'm so sorry, Spectrum. I would have played it on you. Only it was only on the Amiga. I'm a terrible person. I feel like I'm cheating on you, like Rene and one of his waitresses. Oh, poor old Edith.